Josh.
Hello, Felicia. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for this phone interview. It's super exciting for me, as I am a huge geek and have been for many years, and you've been in geek culture for a very long time.
Oh, thank you. I feel like it's just been a couple of days, kind of, but also eternity.
Got it. So I guess we're here today to talk about a couple of projects that you're working on. And, of course, the first thing I wanted to start off with is the podcast and how, you've got season 2 coming up, if I'm not wrong, correct?
Yes, I do. Yeah, we have come out September 17th.
September 17th, awesome, which is sometime next week. I think Tuesday or whatnot. And so I guess, kind of jump into it a little bit. The podcast is mostly improv, if I'm not mistaken. And so my question for you really is, how do you craft your character? I mean, if it's all improv and everything, do you have some sort of vision in your mind, and does it change at all? Like, what sort of challenges does that present with coming up with this character and maintaining that continuity throughout the podcast?
With any character, once you establish them, it really is kind of the hard stuff. The heavy lifting is early on. So in season 1, we were really just laying the groundwork for these characters and the world. And for season 2, we're really just off running and having fun with it even more. So Elsa is kind of like a know-it-all. She's this heiress who doesn't really follow through and everything, but she cares about people underneath. So I think we're going to learn a lot more about her background. We're going to take them into more high-pressure situations, and we're introducing new characters. A new character played by Kirsten Banksmith from Criminal Minds is going to be joining the cast. She is a lesbian kitty alien, and she's going to actually bring a lot more conflict and interesting interactions between all of the characters. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I haven't laughed ever this hard, and we're recording this new season, and I'm so excited for people to listen to it.
Yeah, and the podcast is amazing. All of the characters in their own right. But again, your character is something that we're interested in today. So the other thing I want to ask you is, aside from maybe just your character, but as the production overall, what has been the thing that you take the most inspiration from? Like, are there shows? Because it kind of reminds me a little bit, it's a bit retro for me. It reminds me a little bit of maybe the 80s and stuff. So that's why I wanted to figure out, is there some shows that have inspired this podcast?
Yeah, I think, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is what the creator, Ryan Koppel, uses a lot as an analogy. And so I think that's one of the touchstones there. I think that, they're all sorts of geek references here, everywhere from Buffy to 80s movies to 90s bands. We throw a lot of references in there, so we're not really basing the show on a parody of Star Trek or something. It really is more of a generalized geek podcast where we bring in whatever we want. I know that there's more than its fair share of anime references because the creator Ryan Koppel is such a big anime person. So I think whatever fandom you're into, you'll get some good references, and you'll just enjoy a geeky fun time.
and most fans do. I look on the internet, aside from myself listening rather, and I see that, a lot of people really enjoy the podcast, and a lot of people are super excited about season 2, so a lot of people are looking forward to that. And my next question is, you mentioned one guest. What other guests could, if you're allowed to say, that we should anticipate to be expecting on this new season?
Yeah, we have so many new guests. I mean, I can't even, we have a couple of people from The Office that I'm really excited about. Angela Kinsey, Oscar Nunez. So, they're so hilarious. My friend Harvey, who is on What We Do in the Shadows, is so funny on the podcast. My friend Jesse Cox. I have to say, every single actor who is on this season brings something so hilarious. But my personal favorite episode is the Angela Kinsey episode. So definitely tune into that one. But tune into all of them.
Got it. Yes, definitely. Now, I also want to transition a little bit onto your new book. But before I do that, I actually have a pretty big question, since, it's arguably to be said that, you're like the queen of geek, right? It's geek culture, pop culture, geek fandom. You're like the queen. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody is excited when they run into you and things like that. So the dying question is, what do you prefer, Star Wars or The Last Starfighter, and why?
Star Wars or The Last Starfighter. I mean, Star Wars was my first geek love. I remember having a very scratchy bedspread that was blue with, TIE fighters and everything on it, all the spaceships on it, and it was so uncomfortable to lay on because it had this sort of, I swear to God, it was probably flammable. It felt like fiberglass, but I loved it so much that I got under the covers and I put a sheet under it to block it. So Star Wars and Princess Leia in particular, I always felt like low self-esteem because I didn't have enough hair, because I didn't really realize those drugs were not real. No, Star Wars is always my eternal love.
Got it. Fantastic. So your book, right? You're already an established author. You've published books before in the past. And this new book comes out, I believe, October 1st, if I'm not mistaken. And so how would you go about describing this book for your fans?
This book it's a whimsical, funny adventure story about you, I think. Basically, the journey through this book is designed to be funny, but also designed to help people kind of get to know themselves better, embrace the things that make them different, and use those differences in a creative way, all the while overcoming all the blocks to get in between us and getting our voice out there in the world. So, and it's very based on my own organic experience trying to kind of piece myself together after having a baby. I mean, I was definitely established and very creative before that, but having a big identity crisis, I think there's always a lot of transitions in our life where we have to kind of redefine who we are. And so this book, in particular, Building Your Inner Hero, lots of geeky references about just kind of rebuilding who you are as a creator and figuring out what's going to enrich your life in a fun and funky way.
I think that's awesome. It's a really good message. I was a jock in high school, but I was also a geek in the closet, if you will. And then it was until many years later that I started embracing that and, really knowing just how to take that creativity and put it out there. So I was really excited when I saw this book. So I'm like, there's going to be a lot of people that might be similar like that. And they might read this and say, you know what, let me break out of that shell and embrace my inner geek and just put myself out there and not be afraid. And so that's why I was really excited when I heard about this. And so it's really cool. And my next question would be then, you kind of harken to it a little bit. What do you really want readers to truly take away or pay attention to in this book? There's so many. I feel like it's full of one of those things you can put on a t-shirt. But at the end of the day, I just want people to realize those things that make them different, even though we've been told our whole lives to kind of conform and fit in and follow the rules. So the things that allow you to be, that will take you the farthest in life and give you the most fulfillment are those things based on what makes you different from everybody else. And that's really important to me, especially, I have a lot of teen girl fans, and when I see them struggling in school to sort of push back against conformity, telling them that the things they like geeky things, are not cool. I really want to just give them strength to get through those points in life and feel confident in who they are. I think we all deserve to be confident in who we are. And unfortunately, that basic fact is not, in a lot of us, including me. And so my lifetime, I have a lifetime of anxiety and depression and all sorts of things that have kept my voice kind of inside me rather than getting out of me. And if I can give anybody the tools to help uncork themselves a little bit easier than the process that I went through, then my work is done. Awesome. I like that advice. And what do you want fans to know about Felicia Day? Yes, you have a book, you have podcasts, you've been doing things for years. You're very well established and the future is bright, I'm sure. But what do you want fans to really know about you personally?
I feel like I would love to know that, that anything I do, is because I appreciate the way that people, to me, my creativity is not about me. And that's a conclusion I've reached over a while. I find joy from helping other people. Whether it's through a video, whether it's through a podcast, the greatest relief in life was realizing I can overcome some of these blocks in my way between getting my writing or whatever out there, because it's not necessarily about me. It's the way that I affect other people with creativity. And that's for all of us. There was a woman the other day who tweeted online about how I did a video on crocheting in 2012. And because of that one video, her whole life changed. She started crocheting. She started making videos. She teaches people now. And I'm like, wow, you never know what expression of yourself will benefit other people. And that's why I think creativity is so important, and why it's really my goal in life to encourage other people to pursue it with whatever amount of time that you can give it.
Awesome. Well, that's really good advice. I think that, there's all different types of geek culture out there. And yeah, you are right in the regards to, you never know what you say or do that might actually impact somebody in a very positive and significant way to chase after their creativity and do what is, best for them. And so that's really cool. And, I don't want to keep you on too long. I know you got a lot of things to do. Another quick question I have for you is, what is a question that, maybe you've been asked this before, what is a question that you wish you were asked that not very many people ever ask you, or you've never gotten, that you just wish somebody would just ask you that question?
Wow. I mean, I've done so many interviews in my life. I'm like, I'm not sure what people, I guess, what would I do? No, people, that is a really hard question, because I feel like, I guess, wow, what would that nobody asks me? I mean, that question? I'm just kidding. I guess I would just like people to know that, that all the hard work was that I've done, and any accomplishments that anything that I've accomplished that anybody admires was done with as much pain as anybody else's creative process. So just because I had some success in some areas doesn't mean that I didn't struggle, that I don't have bad days, that I don't feel completely overwhelmed and want to quit because somebody said something mean to me or someone rejected me in a way. And so we're all human. Whoever you see up there, on that web page or on that TV screen, we're all the same people. Nobody's better than anybody else, and we all have the same struggles. But that means we can all have the same successes as well.
Awesome. And one last thing before I let you go, hopefully that's okay, is what do you see the future of geek culture being, and how do you see it evolving into for the foreseeable future?
I think geek culture has gone through a lot since I started. I am so blessed to be a part of I feel like I was one of the few women kind of who had a really strong voice. When I started doing things 10 years ago, there were certainly other women in the space, but the Guild really highlighted the fact that you can look like anything. You can have any kind of background and love nerdy things. And I think that opened up a lot. And I see over the years that, the geek world is younger. It's more diverse, and lots of voices are being represented, and nobody is robbed because of that fact. We're all enhanced about it. And so, for me, going forward in the future, I just hope that people keep that geeky spirit of not just being a commercial, being a fan of what other people make, but also have that rebellious spirit that geeks have. Like, being an outsider and rebelling against the system is really important, I think, to geeks and nerds. And I hope that just because it's becoming more mainstream, we don't lose that.